It's time for the Trading Stocks Made Easy podcast. Each week, Trading Stocks Made Easy demystifies stock trading and investing so you can profit big. And now, here's the host of Trading Stocks Made Easy, the wealthy investor, Tyrone Jackson.
Hey there, welcome back to Trading Stocks Made Easy. It's me, the lovable Tyrone Jackson, a wealthy investor. How you doing today? I always say stay open, stay positive, because if you're engaged in the stock market and you own Dow and S&P stocks, guess what? We are going higher, 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 and higher. And today's show is a new installment that we figured we'd try, Apple stock updates. So what's going to happen over the next 52 weeks? I'll be updating you with regularity on what's going on with Apple stock, the company, and the stock market. Since so many of you love the products, it generally makes sense to buy the shares, right? But are the shares right now, at the time that I'm recording the show, a buy, hold, or sell? Well, that's what we're going to talk about in this episode. Just before I get there, I want you to know something about the history of Apple. Apple produced something called the Macintosh computer. Do you remember that? A long, long time ago, when the great Steve Jobs was alive. They decided that they were going to come out with an operating system that challenged Microsoft's Windows platform. And even if they got a small smidgen of the market called market share, they knew that they could be a billion-dollar company in a predictable amount of time. Well, guess what's happened to the share price over the last 20 years? It's gone up considerably, and it's made millions and millions and millions of millionaires. Now, what's interesting is that a company like Apple, which of course is now part of the Dow Jones Industrial Average, as well as the S&P 500, when those shares go into an index like the two I just mentioned, now institutional investors must or are required to own the shares. What makes a stock price go up? Top-line revenue. The more revenue that a company generates on a quarterly and annual basis, that puts pressure, as I like to say, on the shares to rise. So, when I tell you that millionaires have been made, they're not all millionaires that came from buying the stocks directly. Some of the shares are in mutual funds, and for some people, they're in their 401k, and they don't even know it. So the power of Apple, the company, as a publicly traded company, has affected and touched many lives around the world. But now I want to talk to you specifically, about your trading account, about your trading habits, and becoming a future millionaire due in part to Apple stock. Well, let me tell you what's happened. Obviously, they've transitioned smartly from becoming a company obsessed with an operating system to an entire ecosystem. So Apple was the first company to figure out how to charge consumers on a regular basis for access to their entire ecosystem. How do they make money? Well, first of all, selling the iPhone. And then when they sold the iPhone, they created the App Store. Notice Microsoft doesn't have an App Store, right? The App Store allowed other developers to develop operational systems that would be consistently available on the iPhone itself. Now, here's the controversy that the media doesn't talk about a lot. When you create an app and you upload it to the App Store, and if that app is a commerce app, 33% of all purchases made on that app go to Apple. So it doesn't matter if you're a gaming company, a law firm, or a retailer. Every time there's an app purchase, 33% of that goes to Apple and the rest goes to the company who created the app. Now, that's not exactly the most fair thing in the world, but you can see how creating this app ecosystem has brought in additional billions and billions and billions of dollars for Apple on products that they did not even create. So I have a saying as a wealthy investor, never buy the stock if you don't understand the story. And one of the things I want to explain to you in this show is the ecosystem of Apple. So we've got billions and billions of dollars of apps coming online, being uploaded to the Apple App Store, generating passive income for this publicly traded company. How else does Apple generate revenue? Well, the iPhone sales. Did you know that there are people who upgrade their iPhone every single year? It's crazy. I upgrade my iPhone pretty much every other year, and I charge it to my corporation. Therefore, my bill for my phone becomes a what? A tax-deductible expense. In fact, in the next 30 days, I'm about to upgrade my phone, not because I have to or anything's wrong. I guess I've been converted to Apple fandom. How about that? Apple still makes money off of the sale of its iMacs. Now, in this iMacs ecosystem, they've mastered selling their new computers to college students and small businesses. So if you're a small business and you're on the Mac platform, guess what? You may have 4 or 5 different Macs in the business that you're simply not going to trade out of but upgrade because they're developing their operating systems more and more for small businesses. So they've got that going for them. And then there's their service sector. Everything from iTunes to iMusic to Apple TV is their third largest income generating stream. So even though right now the shares are trading around 148, they're going to go higher. Why? Apple strategically raises the prices in its service sector on its iPhones and on its iMacs. They will continue to follow this price-raising structure for the years to come. So is it still time for you to become an Apple millionaire? You bet. All you need is the discipline to buy the shares as they continue to rise. And we call that in the Wealthy Investor Program buy signals. So there's still time for you to benefit or partner with this company if you want to sound sophisticated as a member of the Dow Jones Industrial Average. The shares will definitely rise from here because they just released their third quarter results. And their year-over-year results are going to be released in when? About the next 15 weeks or so. So on the top line, we saw the iPhone generate gross revenue of $39.5 billion. Now, I have to tell you, when I went over these numbers with my team, I was astounded that in the third quarter, $35 billion worth of iPhones were sold in just the last 13 weeks. So you know there's a fan base, and you know that fan base is worldwide because the United States is a small portion of that purchase. In Mac sales, the company last quarter generated $8.2 billion in Mac sales. I did upgrade my Macs both at my recording studio in Hollywood as well as at home. Why? For me, it's a tax deduction, and I get to be part of that universe and get the latest, greatest. Now, the service sector, iTunes, iMusic, generated $17.5 billion. And remember, I'm talking about just a 13-week period. So what do you think the company's top-line revenue is going to be in the fourth quarter when most people are buying Apple and Mac products as gifts? There's also this other category called wearables, which they've created an ecosystem around, which I'm not really that much of a fan because I only go to the gym, let's say maybe once or twice per year. So I'm not really knocking it out of the park on the health side, I have to tell you, although I still look good. And sometimes that's more important than top-line revenue. So their services sector is going to continue to grow. They have a fan base worldwide for wearables. Now, let's talk about this idea. Is it a good time to buy Apple stock? Yes. Is it a better trade or long-term investment? Well, I happen to like it right now where the stock is positioned as a trade. And when I talk about Apple stock as a trade, I mean consistently selling out of the money covered calls. Generally, every 3 weeks on the shares, the call option premiums are actually very nicely priced. And even if the stock doesn't move for a while, I'll use covered calls as like a dividend replacement strategy, but those shares are always making money. Why? Because the fundamentals are so strong, I know the stock is eventually going to move. However, I also like it as a trade in my IRA. Why? It's an income generator, it pays a dividend, and again, those 30-day call premiums are very, very predictable. You see, a lot of people like to trade in the stock market, but they don't choose a stock that pays them consistently. And that's part of how you make big money in the stock market, is trading the same stock over and over and over and over and over again. So I get a lot of questions at the end of the week. Hey, Tyrone, after I'm bought out of Apple stock or my call options are exercised, should I go back in and buy the shares? The question is absolutely. Because repetition in the stock market is the key to success. So if I've got a stock that I can trade all year round with terrific top-line revenue from all of its divisions, that is what we call a reliable date. Now, you've heard me talk about in this show the idea that we don't marry stocks, we only date them, right? And when you're younger, generally in your 20s, you can date a lot of people and there's a lot of drama involved. Well, when you get older or you have more money in the stock market, you want to trade companies that are consistent, whose prices aren't dropping or rising $20 every single week. At first, that volatility seems like it's a lot of fun, kind of like that wild person you dated in your 20s, right? But as your account grows, you want to be as consistent as possible with your trades and your covered calls, okay? Why? Because I need you to take that same premium in every 30 to 60 days consistently. You take that premium and you buy shares of another Dow stock long term. A lot of people, when they first start trading, get so excited by covered call writing, they forget that we are also a wealth building program and they should be involved in a wealth building system. So even if I give up a little bit of the upside on Apple shares as it rises, the premiums are helping me to do what? Buy more Dow stocks that are consistently rising. Why? Because success is nothing but a series of positive habits. And if you're engaged in the same positive habits in the market over and over and over again, guess what's going to happen? You're going to get wealthy auto-magically. Now let's talk about the shares' performance over the last 5 years. The numbers I'm going to give you now are split adjusted. What does that mean when I tell you something is split adjusted? It means it isn't the actual numbers, but after the shares split, like Apple's did last year, the numbers get adjusted. So did you know that 5 years ago you could have bought Apple shares on a split adjusted basis for about $10? Where are they now? They're at about $140. Is that great growth over a 5-year period? You better believe it is. That's the wealthy investor way. That essentially means that $10,000 invested one time in Apple stock is now worth what? Over $134,000. $100,000 invested 5 years ago is now worth what? Over $1.3 million. Is now the time to buy Apple shares? You bet. Back in a moment.
Want to increase your stock market trading profits? Then you need to start your monthly membership to WITradeschool.com right now. Don't understand how to write covered calls for monthly income? No problem. Simply review Tyrone's latest stock trades in our video library as many times as you need. WITradeschool.com is all about helping you get the financial education you need to earn money in the stock market and change your financial life. Tyrone Jackson, the wealthy investor, has helped his students earn thousands of dollars per month trading stocks online from home. These are people just like you. So what are you waiting for? Follow Tyrone Jackson's red-hot stock trades and investment strategies today. Don't wait. Start your monthly membership at WITradeschool.com right now.
Hey, it's Tyrone Jackson, the wealthy investor, and welcome back. We're starting a new series here. And we're going to go for at least the next year on these Apple stock updates, which you'll find exclusively from listening to the Trading Stocks Made Easy podcast. Going back to my early days in the voiceover business, most of you know I used to be in the voiceover business, and I used to do ads for companies like McDonald's. And by the way, just as an aside, I used to be what they call a legal reader. And I would say things like, void where prohibited by law. Prices may vary at participating McDonald's. See, I still got it. Oh, yeah. Okay, back to Apple stock. One of the things I wanted to also mention to you, if you like to trade Apple in what we call your cash account, every time you buy the stock, sell the call, and you're called out, you are generating taxable income. You see, covered call writing is a taxable trade. As I like to think of it, it's like trading in slow motion. Why? You buy the stock, you sell a call that's 3 weeks out. If the shares are bought away from you, you get the capital gains part of the transaction, and you get that guaranteed income every single month. Well, some of my students notice that the values of their accounts are constantly rising because they're trading stocks like Apple and other stocks that are up and coming. Well, when you're trading up-and-coming stocks and you're generating that much income, it looks to you in your account like, well, this is just numbers and data. But I have to tell you, my friend, the IRS wants its share of your data. And when you're trading with high frequency, you're looking at least 33% of your profits going back to the United States government at the end of the year. Okay? So it's not just data, it's real money. Even the dividends that are paid while you're trading, yes, they are taxable. So if you're a high-frequency trader on a stock like Apple, you need to be working with an accountant. Don't use that software that you can download for $99 and plug in all your trades. When you start to make money in the stock market, you're moving into the wealth world, and you need an accountant to work with you to make sure that you're not overpaying or underpaying your taxes on all those Apple cap gains. Now, this is what I love about holding Apple. When you hold shares for the long term, there are no taxes until you sell those shares. So if you bought $10,000 worth of Apple stock 5 years ago that are now worth over, keyword over, $134,000, what was your tax liability on those shares over the last 5 years? The answer, of course, is zero. So we only trigger tax liability when we sell. So did you know that there are some traders out there in the U.S. who only trade Apple stocks? Now, this is getting a little bit more sophisticated, but there are essentially 4 ways to trade Apple stocks: in the money covered calls, out of the money covered calls, volatility trading, and leaps. Now, if you're really at a higher level, you can also set up bear call spreads on Apple that are 30 days out and at least $10 out of the money, but I don't want to get too fancy too soon. But I want you to know that instead of trading 7 stocks, you can actually trade 1 or 2 stocks 4 different ways. When you do that, you become an expert in what's known as technical analysis, knowing the days in which the stock rises, and you get to know the days and patterns that cause the stock to fall. So is it possible to earn hundreds of thousands of dollars in a 52-week period trading one stock, Apple, which is a member of the Dow Jones Industrial Average, and the S&P? The answer is yes. Think about where you want to put your money in the stock market, in some no-name $12 stock or an established company like Apple that has made millionaires over the last 20 years. The whole purpose of the Wealthy Investor Program is to create millionaires over time. We have a time period within 2 to 5 years. If you're getting the right financial education and you're applying Wealthy Investor discipline, there's no limit to the amount of money you can earn on a monthly basis for the rest of your life. The only limit, as they say, is your imagination and your financial education. All right, we got a lot to look forward to. Make sure you pick up some Apple shares within the next 60 days. Over time, you will be rewarded. Uh-oh, that music means, like an option, my time has expired. It's Tyrone Jackson, the Wealthy Investor, sending lots of positivity, love, and financial freedom your way. I'll see you next time right here on Trading Stocks Made Easy.
You've been listening to the Trading Stocks Made Easy podcast. Be sure to rate and review our show on iTunes. While you're on iTunes, be sure to click the subscribe button and you'll automatically receive our next episode.